Paris police are bracing for more violent protests this weekend as protesters expand their demands. More than 65,000 security forces are already deployed in the city after riots broke out over the weekend in response to a proposed tax increase on fuel. Though President Emmanuel Macron agreed to abandon the plan on Wednesday, protesters are now demonstrating about other issues impacting French workers, students, and retirees. CBS News correspondent Elaine Cobbe joins us now from Paris. Elaine, what are some of the issues protesters are focusing on now that the fuel tax has been resolved?
Well, Tanya, it's a clear indication that they're just not happy in general, because the fuel tax was the start of all this. But even as it was scrapped, they've said, no, we're not happy. They want the minimum wage to be increased. They want the wealth tax, which was scrapped in the early days of President Macron's mandate, to be brought back. And they're also concerned about the general cost of living. But of course, some of them are still saying, we're not really sure what we want, but we think everyone should resign, the government, the president. So there's still a wide range of what people want that all show an underlying discontent, but not necessarily unity on what it is they actually want to achieve.
Now, what are authorities then doing to prepare for more riots? I mean, I saw on the wires today that the Eiffel Tower was closed today because of the riots. I mean, this is clearly impacting tourism.
It is. Several hotels have already had reservations cancelled for this period. And that's very bad for the economy in the run up to Christmas. It's a traditional shopping time. And the fact that the Champs-Élysées will once again be boarded up means a huge drop in earnings for all of the stores along there, including many luxury outlet stores, and also many of the restaurants and cafes. People are not going out to dinner Saturday night in the centre of Paris. Now, all of the police in Paris have been put on notice that they are mobilized this weekend. There's also a lot of controversy over a decision to deploy some 12 armored vehicles along with the gendarmerie, the military police. And that's not something we've seen since the riots in the suburbs in 2005. So seeing them on the streets of Paris will be symbolic. And it's something that a lot of people are concerned about. And there's a lot of fear that all of this police presence will just egg on some of the protesters and incite them to more violence. And the police themselves are saying, you know, we feel like we're going in blind and naked because there are some of the protesters who are clearly just out to get us.
Right. And so these demonstrations are expected to be as explosive as they were last weekend then? And how is it that all the workers are able to gather at this point? I mean, how do they even have the ability to bring those numbers together with such a heavy police presence?
It's expected the violence will be very bad. In fact, possibly worse, because the security forces are going to try to block access to areas that were hit last time, and also to try to corral any real demonstration, which they did successfully last Saturday, but hardly anybody was there. I was on the Champs-Élysées. There were fewer than 2,000 people. Most of those who came to town decided, I'm not doing that, and went to the Arc de Triomphe or scattered around. So I was speaking earlier today to some people I met from out of town last weekend who said, not coming back. We believe the violence will be much worse. And in fact, the presidential palace has said, we feel that there are thousands of people coming just to cause violence and even kill. And they're being criticized strongly for saying that out loud. And again, this whole climate of fear that the French don't usually like doing that. And there's a lot of backlash against that idea. Now, organising themselves for the LFS protesters, there are a number of sites on social media. It is quite an amorphous group, but there are many who are saying, let's meet at the Champs-Élysées at the Arc de Triomphe, and let's meet at Bastille in the east. Now, that does kind of cover Paris, which has the authorities concerned.
Now, Elaine, are the protests then expected to be confined to Paris, or have there been demonstrations in other parts of the country as well?
No, there will be demonstrations around the country. In fact, they have been continuing. One of the flashpoints that developed over the past week has been in high schools across the country, where a lot of them have blockaded in support of the Yellow Vest protests. And there's been a lot of violence in many of them. Teenagers have been arrested for torching cars in front of the schools, and several dozen schools across the country will be closed both tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday in order to stop any kind of violence there.
Elaine Cobbe, thank you so much for your reporting there from Paris. Stay safe.
You're welcome.